Hey guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. The name is Gorata.Selaledi. I'm so excited to be here today on a beautiful Friday evening. I don't know how your day was, I don't know how your week was, but let's just take a moment. Let's just take a moment to take 3 wholesome deep breaths, shall we? So 1 long deep breath in through your nose. Hold it and then breathe out through your mouth. So I'm going to do that just to center myself in this moment. So 3 deep breaths. Let's go. So the magic behind deep breathing is honestly truly just tied to pulling your mind away from the past and the future where we usually find ourselves existing. So pulling your mind away from the anxious thoughts of thinking about what's going to happen in the next hour, what's going to happen in the next day, what's going to happen a month from today, what didn't happen in the past, and musing over all of those things. So I hope you take time to take a deep breath. There's nothing special truly about it, but it really just pulls your mind away from the anxious thoughts and pulls you back into the present. So welcome to my channel. The name is Gorata.Selaledi. I'm so excited for this first insert for my Fridays, and if you are new here, welcome. I am a faith-based content creator and coach who creates content every Sunday, Monday, and Friday. And for my Fridays, for my previous consistent streak, which was around June, July, right after my birthday, I was doing my Faith Friday video ever since I started the channel. And we are doing a pivot. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much, first of all, for being so loyal to this community that we are trying to build together. And I think the key pivot for the program for Fridays is just a shift from the Faith Friday to now shifting to just talking or having a conversation around different life themes that relate to myself, Gorata.Selaledi, just as a way of sharing my perspective and my lived experience, my story. Because I actually realized that out of all the insights that I do, I didn't really have a space where we can actually just chat. Nothing too hectic, nothing life coaching, nothing I'd say too heavy when it comes to talking about our faith journey, but really just talking about what I've lived through, what I've learned from it, and hopefully you can get and take something out of it. So for this video, I'm looking at my timer and it's at 3 minutes. I'm like, what have I been saying for 3 whole minutes? But just excitement, I guess. The excitement of being here in a new space. And for my first Friday video, I am going to be reflecting on, on how it is or how my lived experience has been being a big sister and tying it to leadership. Very, I'd say, 2 very interesting things that people wouldn't ever relate, but that is really the core of what I would want to talk about today. And I think if you were to miss anything or decide to stop the video right here, I'd say the core lesson that I've taken from being a big sister to my siblings is learning to lead with love, right? My understanding of leadership is being able to inspire action. And I think just from the premise of being a big sister, I think the action in this case is really just allowing them to grow into themselves for the meantime, and whatever other seasons that they are going to experience in the future. But for now, it's just existing with them as a big sister and allowing love to pour out of me for them, right? And I've decided to title today's segment Lead with Love, right? Lead with love. And I think just reflecting on the different spaces that I occupy where I get an opportunity to lead, I think just from having had experience being a big sister to my siblings, I think the key takeaway when it comes to love is really just unconditional love, right? And I think obviously when it comes to corporate and the spaces that we get the opportunity to serve, you'd find that we move around, and I've recently actually started a new job. But I think the consistent theme or the consistent element of leading with love is actually realizing that the different people that you get to interact with, you don't meet by mistake, right? And the other day I was actually just thinking about how there's just a heavy assignment over each and every one of us for the spaces that we occupy. So the element of love in this case is the freedom, is the joy, is, I'd say, the excellence that comes with the embodiment of love being God in this case, right? So I'm hoping that this video will be useful to somebody. I'm not going to be giving tips on how to be a big sister because there's no manual. But I think just reflecting on that, and maybe just to start us off with this story of how I was an only child for 11 years of my life. And I remember at the time, I think I was in standard 4, I really wanted to have siblings, right? And God answered my prayer. God came through for this girl in a big way, because I remember how when my mom was expecting, the doctors on the scan kept saying, no, you're gonna have a little brother. People got excited for that. But for me, even at that tender age of 11, I didn't actually believe that, right? I wasn't for it. I was not in agreement with it. I prayed for a little sister, right? And once UNT came, my little sister was born. She was not a boy. It was a girl, a beautiful baby girl. And I remember when, even at that age, I used to, once I guess my mom was done with the potsetse, I used to take her and I'd sit in the wardrobe, yes, in the closet, not a prayer closet, just the closet. I just sit there and hold her and just be fascinated at this little creature, at this little person, not creature, I take it back. She's gonna kill me for that. But fascinated at this little human being, right? And I used to like doing this thing where I'd brush her eyebrows just to get her to go to sleep. And it worked like a charm. And, fast forward today, I am a big sister to 6 beautiful and brilliant little souls. And I think just reflecting on the blessing of actually having so many, there's just been so much that I believe through them God has been revealing for myself in terms of who I am, the capacity that He has given me to love, right? But just generally with each and every one of them, I will be honest and share how there's just so much excitement. There's a lot of excitement in getting to meet them, getting to experience them, getting to just be in the space with them. And also just noting, I'd say prayer as well, as a big component. I don't know, like bulk of the time when I think about each and every one of them jump into my heart, there will be a prayer, like just praying for who they will become, praying for just the purpose that God has over their lives, and just praying that even myself, as a big sister, I will be able to contribute into their lives in a big way. You get me. And then what I'd also noted down in reflecting is really just the big responsibility that I feel or that I hold for each and every one of them, right? Just thinking about like just the small conversations that we'll have, what they share, their dreams. I feel a very heavy or a big weight to say they're not sharing this by mistake. I'm not hearing this by mistake. ultimately, as an individual, as a big sister, I was going to say as an individual called big sister, but I guess that can fly too. But I feel a high responsibility for each and every one of them, right? And I remember in 2019, I had a terrible accident, and I remember almost dying in that combi accident. The combi was speeding. It got hit at the back. It flipped with all of us, and we were screaming for our lives. But God willing, I was covered and did not die in that accident. But I remember coming out of that accident, one of the things that I'd always wanted to do was start a podcast, right? And I'd started podcasting in 2019, before even podcasting became a thing as it is right now. I think that's where this calm confidence came from having had started that chapter. But going back, I digress. Going back to that, thinking if had I died, what would I had wanted to leave, especially for my siblings, right? Especially from a place of wisdom, to say what piece of information have I personally experienced, and what nuggets of wisdom or what wise wisdom would I have wanted to share with them, right? And I'm excited for the Friday videos, because I think just from a perspective of being a big sister to them, I'm hoping that the segment will live on even after the trumpet sounds from our life, which will be like when I'm 90 or like 97. That's how far out. Granted, God doesn't come before then, whichever comes sooner, right? But just believing that what I'm sharing will be useful for them, right, in that platform, but also just the conversations that I have with them, being present. I just feel this big weight and responsibility for their lives, right? And then also what I noted is that each and every one of them is here to reveal something about me, in terms of who I am and who I've been created to be, and also realizing that they exist to actually reveal what is within me, right? And I think I love the fact that I've decided to title this video Leading with Love, because I think ultimately that is the one emotion that I've been so blessed to truly experience because of them, right? So in really thinking about the unique role of being a big sister, now kind of, I'd say, pulling out a bit of wise wisdom to you as a viewer, right? Now that I've reflected and really shared that and a bit of myself in terms of my story, is really just thinking about my role in their lives, right? And what I noted down is the role of guiding or providing guidance. I noted down being present, right? So hearing them, not necessarily just hearing their words, but hearing their body language, watching and just seeing what's going on. Are you okay? And if I am able to show up for that particular need, showing up fully, right? And then keeping promises. This one is a big thing for me personally, because when I was young, I would cry. Let me not say, as I was going to say I would go off, but no, going off is like getting angry. But I would cry so much when someone didn't keep their promises to me. So I think personally, even in thinking about keeping promises to them is a big thing. And I think it goes to integrity, to say, are you a person of your word? And in thinking about leadership, to then say, the practice that I get with these little 6 what was I gonna call them? There's no name. But these 6 beautiful souls is a practice ground for me even before I go into the marketplace. And also learning how to be firm and be kind, because I realize, obviously, like when you move from home into corporate, there's a certain professionalism in how you carry yourself. But I realized that just comparing who I am now versus when I was probably in my teens versus when I was in uni, the firmness I've learned, thank God, from my siblings, having to learn to be firm when it comes to certain instances, I think has brought out something that without them would have never existed. So thank you to you, my nanas, if you're watching this. And then in terms of leadership, I had highlighted how my understanding of leadership is inspiring action, right? Inspiring action. And I think my biggest thing in relation to leading my siblings and being someone of inspiration in this case is being nurturing, being supportive, setting an example through my actions, right? And just as a by the way, I am firstborn, right? Firstborn to all these 6. Yes, people usually get shocked because of how soft I am. And the question I usually ask is, wait, all money? What that basically means is, do you ever shout? Right, which I don't know if it's a prerequisite to be an older sister, right? But I think just thinking about setting an example through my own personal actions is actually realizing that they are always watching, especially that there are all, I'd say, teens and preteens and still in their teens, very impressionable still, right? And whatever personally I model, there is an opportunity for them to actually look and reflect and wonder, there might be something there, looking at our big sister Wati. So I noted down 3 points in terms of key takeaways to make this video a bit wholesome. And from what I've already shared, leading by example is something that I'm learning from being a big sister. Setting a good example, especially embodying love for one another. I think that's the biggest thing in terms of legacy that I want to leave, learning or loving people fully, loving my siblings fully, so that they are able to actually also love on my children to come, love on their children unconditionally, right? And secondly, cultivating patience and understanding. That's something that I am learning. Patience. Cultivating patience and understanding, right? So what I noted down here is that it's a free masterclass, especially with the young ones. Free masterclass only if you allow yourself to actually be present, especially when there's conflict and misunderstanding, because boy, will I get hot and heavy. And I think the default, going back to the whole comment of wait or money, I think my posture is always really very reflective, and I'll probably come back after I'm calm, because I do get angry just like any other human being. But I think just calming down and trying to come out of that thinking process, and then come back calm to be able to talk about what I needed in that moment, and trying to understand what they needed, right? Especially from the oldest, the one that I talked about, who was the first of all, right? She's 19, and obviously for herself, she has her own aspirations, her own thoughts about how things should be done. And I also have my own expectations, right? And then the last thing I noted is, I'd say the most important for this video, which is growing together. I noted that learning from them as much as they can learn from me. I'm also always very fascinated when I have a conversation, when I have a moment with them, what they're sharing, what they're thinking. I feel is very fascinating because I get an opportunity to learn about what's happening in their lives, what's happening in the world. And I honestly, truly make it a point to spend as much time as possibly possible, as humanly possible. I think that could be the English, right? To spend time with them, right? Because I realize that life stage will come, will go, and it will come and go very quickly, because I honestly can tell you that I remember when they were in diapers, and right now they're at a place where they're about to transition into adulthood, which is wild to me. I mean, granted, and I always say, like, I can only imagine how parents feel. Like, you're born, you're in diapers, and now your whole grown woman who's married and one day we'll have kids and right? Always so fascinated, especially by my great grandmother. And yes, my great grandmother is still alive, and the aspiration is for me to be a matriarch in my own family as well, and have many grandkids and great grandkids from my lips to God's ears. So in wrapping up this video, I'd say very interesting, obviously, in terms of the direction of the video. There's a fly. Flies, trust them to come in the video while we're recording. But like I was saying, first experience of learning to inspire action. And I think with leadership, you can only do so much, right? And wait to see the result. And I'm truly hopeful in being intentional and deliberate in how I show up as a big sister, to say that it will impact their lives ultimately when they do become adults, to become adults that actually have impact in the world, right? And I also noted that the biggest thing that I'm learning from these 6 beautiful human beings is to lead with love and compassion, right? And I think given where they are in terms of their teens, it's like there's a lot of perspective. I don't even know. There's a way that they view the world, if I was to put it as such, and they're at a formative stage where they are deciding what to believe, right, and how to perceive the world, and what they stand for, and I think it's just learning how to hold the space while still being able to share your thoughts and not imposing too much, but then just being there to allow for them to evolve and grow into what God has purposed them to become. And a free training ground for when I have my own kids. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video to the very end. It was lovely recording, and I hope that it will bless you. Until next Friday, I'm not sure what I am going to be talking about, but watch the space. Life in general, many thematic areas. Might talk about marriage and being a young wife, and the lessons from there, and but just leave it in the comments what you would want to hear me talk about. I know that someone talked about how they would want to hear my thoughts when it comes to finding balance generally in life, of which I think I will definitely do a video on, having had navigated a season where I was juggling. I was juggling so much, and getting to a place where I am able to still create, where I am able to still grow, spend time with family, still able to be creative, right, which is tied to really what is at the core of my non-negotiables. And I did share a bit about that on my Monday video. Please do check it out. If you are looking for structure in your life, please check out my Monday videos, where it's targeted coaching for free. Literally, if you are ready to make a change, please click on those videos. If you aren't, don't do it, because there's a lot of hard work, there's a lot of reflection that I want for you to do. So if you feel you're not at a place that you want to do the work, don't do it. But anyways, I hope this video has blessed you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next Friday. Easy goodbye from me, and may God's favor locate you, and may His grace sustain you as you move into this weekend. Bye.